What is going on, gamers? In this video we got a Planet of the Apes scenario with virus memes about this movie, getting popular, as well as what was it, random chimp event. Yeah, random chimp event meme, fairly popular, even though it's kind of a dead meme at this point. But I still think, the random chimp event, nobody knows when it's coming. It's coming pretty soon. So Harambe tried to warn us, but yeah, we're playing the Planet of the Apes scenario, and it's pretty interesting. We got America where the movie is, at least in the original, and well, actually in the remakes also in California. But we got New York right here, the Forbidden Zone from the original movie, and then we got the Empire of Caesar, and we also have the Ape Columbia, which is right here, and then we also have regular Columbia. The Empire of Brazil. Technically, this is supposed to be just a united South American faction. I didn't really know what to call it, but I just decided let's just go with Brazil for this. And there are a couple small tribes out here trying to fend off the Empire of Caesar, but it's not going very well for them. In the movies, I think India is the largest country, as it kind of indicates, and it says Pawn Grid Republic, which is another ape tribe, is in control of the majority of Europe. In I guess the final movie of the original saga, the atomic mutants are the remnants of the Soviet Empire, and Ape Jin, and we got Weeb Apes, which technically Japan, the ape colony, doesn't have a name, but I'm just going to call them the Weeb Apes, because why not? And then we have the Empire of Caesar trying to take down India, which India is trying to, fend them off from taking out the rest of the modern world. So it's kind of where our story is, and we're going to kind of simulate it and see who comes out on top. It'll be kind of interesting. Alright, so the turns are beginning to play out. I think some small wars occur at the start of the game. I'm going to kind of briefly show those. The Empire of Caesar begins in a conflict with majority of the civilized world. Pawn Grid at no conflicts at the moment, and then Iran is also in a couple small alliances, I think, with the Caliphate of Apes, which is, it's talked about barely in the movies, but it is technically a real place in the overall the universe. So this is what we got going on here, and there is an alliance between the humans, so they're probably going to be pretty powerful, and they might win, but they are pretty weak as well, because they got a lot of issues, a lot of people next to them that don't like them. It'll be interesting to see if the humans can win, but with so many people in hatred of India, and India really carrying the team on their back, it's going to be kind of hard to know if India will win or not. Brazil probably will be a pretty safe place, as long as I can keep Caesar back. But we're going to kind of watch and see how it plays out. And I think the Pawn Grid Republic will take over the Soviets pretty quickly. Nothing major quite yet breaking out in Australia, which is kind of surprising. You'd think that there would be some conflicts, but it appears neither India or Caesar really care about this region, so it's kind of interesting. Unless that's just the AI at fault. But Brazil is now making a small comeback. They might win. I think they're getting some ally support in the region, so Brazil might eventually push out Caesar with India's help. Pawn Grid Republic is probably going to win the game with how much land they've picked up. I think they're going to annex the Soviet, and I think they just did as well. Do they now own all this territory? I think they do. I think they fully annexed the Soviet region, which I'm not sure if that's the greatest decision, because that's going to be very hard to keep all this under their control, but for now they're doing okay, so we'll see how that plays out. And wow, the border gore in Brazil is just disgusting, so let's see how that plays out. It's really bad border gore, so I'm assuming the border gore will probably get really terrible once Caesar gets defeated. Caesar, I think your days are numbered, buddy, because it looks like the allied troops have and Caesar pieced out for a solid chunk of land. Did Caesar win that conflict? Well, maybe they lost a lot in Africa. Did they lose Australia? Australia has fallen to India, And yeah, it looks like for the most part Caesar has lost, but damn, that's really all you took, Brazil? You took barely anything. You just let Brazil, well, you just let Caesar kind of get away scot-free. He is having some rebel issues, and it looks like Cuba is being occupied by a majority of different countries, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. I thought they'd take a lot more from that, but they really didn't. So Caesar is having rebel issues, so we'll see how that plays out, and Pongrid most likely going to have some rebels in the future as well, so we'll see how that all plays out. And the war has already broken out that fast, damn. So Pongrid versus India, it happened a lot faster than I thought it would. I was just kind of, it's only been like 5 turns since the war with Caesar, so this might end bad for India. I don't think India is as prepared as they think they are. Turkey has just been rolled over completely as they pretty much get crippled. Africa is not faring as well as they should be, especially with how much land they have here. And India is holding their own, but they are kind of getting pushed back a little bit, so it's not looking good for the Allies. And now even in Algeria, the capital of Algeria has fallen. Algeria looking really bad at the moment, defending against this crisis that's attacking their border. So, yeah. Oh, and Pongrid is at war with, I thought they were at war with Caesar for a second also. Not quite yet. But Pongrid is ripping through Africa somehow. Yeah, Africa is getting crippled by the Pongrid Republic. India's still doing pretty good, but damn, Pongrid is not to be messed around with. It also looks like the Weeb Apes have entered a conflict with the Pongrid Republic, so I'm assuming the Weebs are going to probably die, but they are holding their own at the moment. They might survive, since I think the Pongrid Republic is too busy with India and like 100 other different fronts, so Japan might make it, but they are losing, so maybe they won't make it. They are getting crippled pretty bad at the moment. It's just crazy everywhere. And now they're back at war with Caesar as well, so Brazil's going to kind of be on their own, I think, in this region. But yeah, India is pretty much at war with everybody at the moment. Like, yeah, nobody is friends with you other than maybe the Japan. So it's not looking very good for India. I don't think the humans are going to defeat the apes very, very soon at all. But then again, Pongrid Republic is now at war with the Saudi apes as well. So things are pretty crazy. Everybody is at war with everybody at the moment. So I've never seen a war quite as big as this, I don't think. So Pongrid is not looking very good. They're at war with pretty much all their neighbors, and I think that's what is driving Pongrid to kind of lose this conflict. And yeah, India might win if they play their cards right, and they cripple the Saudi apes, which they are kind of doing that at the moment, and cripple Ape Jin. So those are kind of their major barriers to defeating Pongrid at the moment. But they have made it all the way up here in Finland, so that is pretty impressive. It looks like for the most part though, China Ape Jin is being pushed back, so I think they might lose that. But then again, you know, the Saudi apes have already made a comeback, so it's kind of hard to tell. And they're at war with everybody. How are they not dead yet? They're literally at war with all their neighbors and they're still standing. That is pretty impressive. They are getting pushed back quite a bit at the moment though, so we'll see how that plays out. Oh yeah, they're looking really bad now. I think this is the end of them. Did they just die? They almost died. They lost their capital. They're all losing a lot of land, so it's not looking very good for them. And it appears that the Pongrid Republic has pieced out with the Weebs. Neither side appears to have gained much land, so I think Pongrid might have gotten 1 or 2 territories, but for the most part it's a tie. And yeah, now they can fully send their attention towards the Allies, because I think the Saudis have been defeated as well, or at least pretty close. So yeah, India is about to get smacked pretty hard, I'd assume. Oh, and the war has just ended as of right now, so turn 704. It's been a very long conflict, but the war has finally come to an end, and it looks like Pawn Grid is victorious, gaining a lot of territory in Africa, and they're also at war with the Saudi Apes, which they're probably going to take all of that. So Pawn Grid is more or less our winner. India got smacked hard. They lost a lot of land, but they gained a lot of land as well in China. But yeah, India, you got smacked hard, buddy. You lost like 3 million population. I don't even know how you did it, but it must have been all the troops you were sending, but you lost like 1/4 of your population. That has got to hurt. That is a lot. We did see a lot of these small countries break free. Nothing major. I don't think any of these would ever be our winner, but in terms of who I think personally won the game, Pawn Grid is looking very good. If they can bitch slap the entire alliance and Caesar, you know, can barely take down Brazil, I think it's highly likely Pawn Grid could bitch slap anybody on the planet. So I'm going to give this game to the Pawn Grid Republic. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a random chimp event, and I'll see you all for the next one. Peace.